All right, you guys, it is interview number 2 here on the Fourzze Effect. Buckle up, let's do this thing. I am here with the legendary Link. What's going on, dude?
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
You are
Appreciate the invite, and I'm glad to be here.
you are most welcome. All right, so for those in Saberland who don't know who you are, let's hear a little bit about you and where you come from and what you're doing.
I'm on Facebook. I'm Brandon, and I'm known on the forums as Link. So I've been in the hobby since 2010. Been almost 10 years now, which is kind of crazy. Uh, I started on FX Sabers forums, but then I very quickly, kind of right when the Rebel Armory was starting, which back then it was the Imperial Royal Arms forums. I was one of the first people to join that forum, and I've been there ever since as well. So I've been on both for pretty much since 2010, 2011, and then sometime in 2011 is when my first sound fonts were coming out. Novasar was actually, he is the OG font maker. He is the original, and he was my direct inspiration for creating sound fonts. And but I think what people mostly remember me by is actually sound fonts that aren't even Star Wars related. Like Transform and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's kind of how long I've been in the hobby, and I'm a sound font maker, by trade. So that's kind of the quick little rundown of that.
Nice. So, what's brought you back?
That's a really good question. So I think it's probably fair to say that most of us never really leave. We just kind of step away, for periods of time, for multitude of reasons. For me, I basically had created a whole bunch of sound fonts, and I was getting out of the military. I've been away. For those that didn't know, I've been away for probably 3.5 years or so, just kind of lurking in the background, just paying attention to things here and there. But I did step away for quite some time while I was transitioning out of the military and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I've never really been gone. This hobby is, it's kind of it's kind of addicting, right? Like we all love the hobby for what it is, and there's just something about that Star Wars charm that always wants to draw you back in, and I'm no different from that. So um, but as of late, I think it's been just the with the new movies coming out, and whether they're good, bad, or in between. New Star Wars is always good Star Wars in my opinion, so that's always exciting. And I'm a huge gamer too, so Jedi Fallen Order is coming into the fold, and just there's just a lot of new stuff. And then uh, of course there's other stuff that I'm working on that is part of that motivation to quote unquote bring me back too. So yeah, I think it's a lot of stuff. No?
Let's jump seats a little bit here. Now, behind
Okay.
me, I have a graphic that you released.
Oh yes.
I'm gonna move me a little bit, and I'm gonna move you a little bit. 8119, a larger world awaits, and of course you got this really cool drawing of Link, of Wind Waker Link, with a lightsaber, and those in Saberland who know you, they know what this little guy means.
Yeah.
So, what can you tell us about this larger world and what's awaiting?
Nothing. Interview's over. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. First off, I need to tip the hat to my artist. I did hire an artist for that graphic. He did an amazing job. He got and spoiler, that's just one piece of it. That's not the whole piece of art. So more to come on that. And actually, I mean, surely the pose. That is an iconic pose. Yes, you're familiar with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I assume so. If you're watching this and you don't know what that pose is, you are not a true Star Wars fan, my friend.
Uh-oh.
I'm calling you out. No, I'm just kidding. But no, if you notice on the graphic underneath the big numbers, it says "or sooner."
Or
Dot
sooner.
dot dot. Yes. So I can say with full confidence that I'm like 99.9 repeated percent sure that um, whatever this is will be here well before August 1st. um, as far as answering what it means, what it is, well, I can't give away any spoilers really, but if I'm a sound font maker and I'm teasing something new's coming, that's sound fonts are a pretty safe bet, but that's all I'm gonna say.
Excellent. All right, so we can assume comeback. Assume.
It's I think that would be fair to assume.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Noise. All right.
Yeah.
So let's
Oh,
get in.
wait, actually, I forgot. I did want to make one more comment about that because
Yes.
it is kind of a big deal for me personally. But I figured I could at least give everybody. I guess this will be like an exclusive for the interview, I suppose. But
Okay.
I'm not going to reveal the name of what I'm doing. Um, so I go by Link, but most people in the community know me also, or at least when I associate with my fonts, SaberLink Studios. So I've used that name for a long time,
Right.
just as a name to kind of like if it's a business name, um, Saberlink Studios. I really love that name, and I came up with it myself, and it just kind of fit in so many ways. I'm Link and Saberlink, and it's like it's a lightsaber, so it's like the link to the sound. I mean, I just what I mean. It was kind of nerdy, but I was like, hey, that actually works. It sounds really good, and but that's what I use for my quote unquote business. My sound fonts and all that stuff, and so that the Saberlink Studios part is what will be changing. So that will be changing.
Okay.
Um, Now, what the new name is going to be, I can't disclose just yet. That's going to be for the reveal. But in the meantime, I'm going to pull an Xbox move and give it
I
a
was
project
just
name.
gonna say that.
Yeah,
Like, what are you?
yeah,
You're about to pull an Xbox project on us, aren't you?
yeah, yeah. So I'm just because I was like, you know what? Why not? Give something a little something to throw out there. But so Project Shockwave is what
Ooh,
I'm going to use, and
sick.
yeah, I'm using Shockwave for a very particular reason, and I'll leave it at that. But yes, Project Shockwave is coming um, before August 1st, so very soon. Keep an eye and ear out on the forums and Facebook for more details.
Sweet. All right, that's excellent. So, now you mentioned you're working on stuff. Let me ask this question. As you know, Scott from NEC Nigons Electronic Creations is still going really strong. We've got Plector Labs still rocking it, but in your I'm not even going to call it absence. In your lurking, we've had the appearance of at first it was known as the Teensy Saber, but now to those in the know and those in the programming and looking to get all these options, we now are in Profi land. Give me your thoughts on the Profi from what you've seen and heard and read about it.
Yeah, so this is one of those things that come up every so often in the hobby. Something kind of new breaks on the scene, and whether it's a new technology or a new feature, or and these are always really exciting times, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I So in my 3+ years of kind of being in the background, and now that I've kind of recently started coming back, I have had to do quite a lot of homework to kind of catch myself up, and talking with a lot of longtime members of the forums and friends that I've made, and just trying to catch up, because if you leave this hobby for a second, like you will be left behind. There's so much going on all the time, as we all know about that, and
That's even if you
it's
take a short break. Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah. Even if you take like a week off, it's like you'll come back to this like bombardment of like new info. But Profi, or Teensy, and basically open source in general is is really, really cool. I gotta say, my experience with font making has always been Plector Labs and Nigon's, NEC boards, and so the whole open source gig, as far as making sound fonts, is pretty new to me. So I have had to do quite a bit of research on how they work, what it means for us as font makers and things like that. Um, it is interesting. I kind of like to think about it for those who know what the Raspberry Pi is, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a wallet size mini computer that basically is the same idea. It's open source, right? So you can use it for a myriad of stuff. And I like to kind of think about it like a we in the Saber community, we're definitely the hardcore Star Wars fans, because when you get into like building sabers and the electronics and learning how to wire them up, or even customize config files for sound fonts, I mean, that truly is what I would call a hardcore Star Wars fan, more than the average Joe who just maybe goes and watches the movies. Well, like past that, Profi, in my opinion, like kind of introduces the next like tier of difficulty slash like hardcore interest, because that truly is like fully customizable. And correct me if I'm wrong. And then the smooth swing part of it is, albeit not new, because I remember like 8+ years ago something similar to smooth swing was out there, but it really wasn't fully implemented the way Profi has been able to implement it. So
Correct.
that new feature coming on the scene and kind of popularizing, I guess, or like putting to the forefront of with what Profi can do is really, really cool. So, but I definitely, like, for me, like I said, I've been on 2 different boards, and so this one's new, and I've never owned one yet. Hopefully I can add one to my collection at some point in the future, but it definitely seems to be that more intricate, like tinkerers, type of project, right? Like honestly, as a font maker, I really don't know if, like, if I get a Profi, I just wonder how much I'm going to be tempted to make those tweaks, right? Because like on Plector and NEC, like you buy the board and it's got its settings, but then that's kind of it, right? But with Profi, like you can go into the code and rewrite kind of anything if you know what you're doing. So I just wonder how tempted I would be to do that at that point, right? Because I've never really had that before.
There is that,
So
and also
yeah.
there are plenty in the open source Facebook page. A lot of people in there who have written their own forks to make
Uh-huh.
not only just not only to how do I say this, to implement newer or even existing font features on other boards. Like for example, right now, Plector in the CF9 has end lock. All right, so there was
Yeah, I
code
saw that.
written. There was code written in Profi to add sort of the same feature, or a post off, things like that. It was also quoted in the open source page at one point in time. Someone had decided to go ahead and say, it doesn't matter what new stuff comes out on these other boards, we're just going to Bruce Lee it on there anyway. Quote. So I found that interesting, if nothing else. But again, that's open source, and that's the freedom of ideas, the freedom to, do what it is they're going to do. I will say that as a font maker, and actually, I pretty much came on the scene like literally right after you dropped off the scene for a little bit, and I was here for the birth of Profi and Teensy and all that, and I had to get help with learning how to create smooth swing files, and I was involved in some of the birth of a lot of these features that are being added on the fly. And I remember, a lot of the naming schemes are different, but a lot of the coding comes into play when you want to play with blade styles. NeoPixel is huge with Profi. If anything
Yeah,
else,
I've been seeing that.
yes, and there have been folks who have just come out with some ridiculous blade styles, and among some of the most popular, believe it or not, is the rainbow saber,
Yeah, no, I have seen that, and
like a prismy effect. And then, of
yeah,
course,
yeah, yeah,
with the success of the Kylo Ren fonts by Kasith, who, by the way, is a freaking master of the sequel trilogy fonts. I mean, he's got the Ray font down. He's definitely like the man when it comes to Kylo Ren. um,
Sweet.
and there has been the most sick looking blade style for that little tri saber of his. It's badness, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah, man. I mean, back to the original point here. While Profi is incredibly impressive, it's capable of so much. I own one. It's also extremely intricate. Lots and lots of work that you got to put in to make it do exactly what you want. But that's the payoff. It will do exactly what you want with no limitation. But you just got to put
right.
the work and the code in, or know somebody who has the formulas, and that's about where that stands.
Yeah, no, that's that from everything I've read and doing my catching up, that's exactly what it seems like, which I gotta say, in this hobby, that Profi existing in our hobby makes probably the most sense. We do custom lightsabers, right?
Correct.
So it makes sense that there would be a soundboard that would allow you to do such things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will just say this really quickly. I don't want to like harp on it too much, but I have seen a lot of divisiveness in the community in terms of like Profi versus Plector and NEC and all this stuff. And I gotta say, anyone that knows me knows I'm not a fan of like that whole thing. And innovation to me is innovation. Obviously personal preference is personal preference, but I'm one of those people, like if it's something new, like I'll welcome it, and we'll give it a try. And I think um anytime something new comes on the scene, you see that, when Scott came out with NEC boards for the first time, I saw the same exact thing. There was uh controversy and divisiveness and all this stuff, and I'm like, me personally, I don't care for that stuff. Like I'm here, like when I was doing fonts before, I made for Plector and NEC, and now that Profi's on the scene, assuming I get back into doing what I do best, and that probably may be the case. We can talk about that later. Uh, I will absolutely support the current, boards that are out there. So I've never been one to exclude any of the big players. I'll put it that way.
Excellent, and I feel the same way. Um,
Yeah.
my only thing is, you know, with the Profi in general, nothing's really set in stone day to day. You're going to find that folks are trying different forks, trying different methods every day. They're getting very innovative.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what's cool, man. Those
one
features. I
thing that's
mean,
kind of happened here lately is just the introduction of smooth swing with accent swings. Now, you and I both know that the only thing an accent swing is a simple swing file that you put on an NEC font. That's what
right.
basically it's just another way to say swing. And some folks are really into it. They think it's great. Others think it sounds like hot garbage. Some think that's not exactly ready for prime time. I don't honestly think it's ready, and I don't think every single font out there needs an extra swing file on top of a smooth file. I've only heard one or two instances where it fits. I definitely intend on here in the very near future trying some new things, but I certainly don't believe that it is the end all be all that needs to be this way sort of thing. I think smooth swing sounds absolutely amazing just the way it is. Just as if you don't want to use smooth swing, for example, we've all seen that Scott's got real swing coming, and just from
Yep.
those tests alone, I really, really like what's coming from that. And if I can give you three words, it's going to be bold new possibilities.
Yeah, I've been, especially as of late, I've been looking up on Real Swing from Scott, and of course the Smooth Swing with the Profi and how they work and how they're different. But accent swings, yeah, I kind of agree with you on accent swing. Accent swings to me, I think honestly, like this is so we talk about being font makers and anyone that makes sound fonts. Which, by the way, really quickly, you mentioned Kasith and yourself, and y'all did kind of start up right when I was leaving for a little while. I have seen, and I think Shamim too, because I don't remember seeing him until just after I kind of stepped away. But Shamim and Kasith and you, like I've seen what y'all have produced for the most part, and gave it a listen, over the last couple of few years and stuff. And hats off to you guys. I really love seeing when new folks step up to the plate to create new stuff for the hobby, man. It's always great. Y'all are making a lot of great content, man. So that's cool.
Thanks, dude.
um yeah, no problem. No, not a problem at all. Accent swings, to me, I think these, honestly, they're a really good tool to get people into font making. And so here's what I mean. So like when we create fonts, there's been tutorials over the years. There's been we've all been approached at some point to ask to do something custom, or like, how do you do this, what programs do you use, things like this. And most of us are pretty happy to answer a lot of those questions.
Oh yeah.
Anytime folks are encouraged to create something themselves, whether it be a few swing sounds or a full-blown font, we as font makers are always like, yeah, it's because when you actually make one, you get that satisfaction of like, man, I created this. This is really cool.
Yes.
So with that idea, I think accent swings are actually kind of an interesting thing because they are extra sounds that can really just hone in on that level of immersion that you're personally seeking for whatever that font is. Well, if you can get into, an audio editing program, which, Audacity is one of the most famous ones. It's free too.
Oh yeah.
And if you can get in there and make tweaks like that and start to play around with it, that can be kind of a catalyst for you to start learning how this stuff works. And who knows, it might be something you're really good at, or maybe you got a certain custom font you want to make or something. I think that would be a great thing to start with, something small and simple like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's jump over to this direction here. So as you know, I've gone from being a font maker to now I've started my own YouTube channel. Of course, you're now on the Fourzze Effect. But one of the things I wanted to do with the channel was more community involvement. I've actually spoken with Kasith a little bit about this. I spoke with a couple other people. How would you feel about getting more involved in the community in terms of fun? And when I say that, how would you feel about joining some of us in some games being streamed? Like, for example, if some of us wanted to get together as fellow font makers or even community members who wanted to do a round of Battlefront 2, we fly some ships, we blow some things up, we put it on camera, activities like that. How do you feel about things like that?
That would actually be really cool. Now, I don't know about the other font makers, and there's plenty of them I haven't had the chance to talk to, before. So I am a gamer, so I have such a setup to be able to do that. I don't know if everybody does, but I am. I think the community stuff is always really cool. So a lot of you may remember back in the day, it was me. It was like there was, I don't, how many font makers of us. So the Seven Forms series of sound fonts was created by me and three other font makers. I think it was me, Lord Blako, Machinimax, and maybe Nightstorm, I think.
Cinemax. That's a name I've not heard in a while.
Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long
A
time.
long time. Long time.
Yeah. And but that was like this huge, and I basically approached all of them and pitched the project and said, this is kind of what I want to do, but like there's 7 fonts or 7 forms, but I think we wanted to make 8 fonts because one of them was like 2 parts, because the idea is I wanted 4 font makers to make 2 fonts a piece, right? So I think I had like form 3 and form 6 or something like that. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. They did really well in the community. Like everybody picked them up, everybody loved them, everyone had their favorites, and it was just a really cool time that I'm sad that more font makers these days haven't had the opportunity to work together in that way, because it was and also at that time, Lord Blako and I were kind of on this like competitive, like I would release a font, then he would release one, then I would release one, and just all this back and forth. And it was just really cool, man. And we had a lot of fun. Lars, Lord Blako, he really, really great dude. I miss working with him, and I know he's still out there. He's like me, he's in lurk mode, but he's always around. And but yeah, gaming stuff. Yeah, me personally, like I would love to do something like that. Admittedly, I don't own Battlefront 2, but I will be getting Fallen Order in when does it come out? November, something like that.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to be running that here on the channel.
Yeah, I'll be playing that too. So yeah, I would be totally down to do some co-op, or I don't even know if that game's gonna have co-op or whatever, but we can definitely do something. I'm down.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, for a little while I've been trying to get something together to where just a bunch of us, if we need a break from creating, and it doesn't matter what you're creating, whether it's fonts, whether it's you're a powder coater or an etcher, you're a machinist, and shout out to the machinists because a lot of them are popping up. They're spending the big bucks. They're getting their lathes and everything, and there's a lot more custom folks just dropping some good looking metal in the community. Seriously.
Yeah, that the manufacturers. Yeah, if you um, if you have that kind of money to spend, and you know what, I'm gonna back that up because a lot of people don't have the money. It's through sheer passion that
For real.
they create what they create, man. And I agree 100%, man. Like whether you're creating the metal or you're doing etching, shout out to I wanted to say shout out to Pete Sandoval, Pete's Powder Emporium, whatever. Like I haven't,
Yes,
I've
that's
never
the
even worked
man.
with the guy, and I in the last 6 months have been paying attention to what he's doing, and I'm like, and I am blown away at the intricacy and the quality of what he's producing. So that is a really cool trade that previously, when I was kind of in my prime, years ago, we didn't really have a guy like that I ever saw. That there were people that had those services for sure, but he seems to be the guy right now, and he's doing a really good job. But yeah, so like whether you're doing that or you're creating the metal, like Darth Alice or Solus Hold or any of those guys, um, that's it's a lot of money and it's a lot of hard work, man. And they deserve your respect for sure because they create some beautiful, beautiful art.
No doubt. All right, well, listen, we are coming up to the 30-minute mark. Is there anything that you want to say to Saberland or any sort of hints you want to drop on them before we lock it up?
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of you, this is kind of the first time you're hearing my voice or seeing my face, and apologize if it makes you nauseous. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, um, I've been around for a long time in the community, and for a long time, you all have supported me by buying my fonts. I've got to tell you that it doesn't go unnoticed. It means the absolute world, the support that has been shown to me over the years. Even when I was gone, I would still get people messaging me here and there asking if I do custom commissions and things of the like. And all the stories of people saying that maybe one of my fonts is their favorite or something like that. Um, that is a huge, huge deal for me personally. The support that's been shown. I've said it before here and there, but not a whole lot. But there were a couple of times where the money that I made from the fonts because of you guys all buying was, helped me pay rent or something. It
Yeah,
helped me. It just
no kidding.
it helped me get through the times, man. And it's so thank you to everybody who's ever supported me ever, and rest assured there is plenty more coming.
That's amazing. All right, you guys. Well, listen, that was Link, and definitely big news. 8119, be looking for it or sooner. A larger world definitely awaits. If you enjoyed today's content, I invite you to hit that like button. Subscribe today to become one of the Fourzze fam. And from the both of us, respect, honor, and may the Fourzze be with you.